on one hand, last year, the thing that we said, cluster bombs that were going to be war crimes, are now the very things that we will send over to Ukraine. And so it just becomes the reemergence of a new kind of religion.
And we have a new one every couple years. I mean, a couple years ago, we were all posting black squares, and and
there's always a symbol.
There's
to go
always something to go with, and it's a test, right? Do you comply? Can I give you an outward symbol that I line up the way that dominant culture wants me to? And I think that's why songs like this are so interesting, is because they make people so. I mean, Variety has this article out saying that it's the most cynical song, when really it's a call to action and mutual protection.
This is, look, if you want to argue there's something wrong with the song, I think you're incorrect. But this is the most cynical song of all the songs on air today, of all the songs on the radio. This is the most cynical. You're out of your mind.
It seems like a psychological. I don't want to be too conspiracy, but it seems like a psychological operation with the internet now. We've got all the nations of Earth influencing our nation. We're all influencing each other, of course, but there are overt applications to corrupt and disband the United States because it's the global leader. And who's seeding that's a bad thing to protect your neighbors? Who's doing that? Is it the Chinese? I don't want to be crazy conspiracy because I don't know. But who wants the U.S. follow the money? I don't know. But I get a vibe that this is not a natural phenomenon from within our country.
The reaction to this is what you mean.
Yeah.
It's plausible to me. It's almost so bizarre that is a very fair question to ask. In some ways, China is absolutely responsible for a lot of this, right? Because China, the game they have played, I'm going to come back and say that's not the entire explanation, but I think there's a lot of truth to it, though. Because China has played this game on our culture for the last 20 some odd years, which is they want our psychic insecurities to flourish. They want us to be psychologically insecure, and here's how they do it. The spread of global capitalism in the 1990s was actually their way of accomplishing this, where we fell into this trap that said we were going to export Big Macs and Happy Meals, and Western music was a big part of this too, to places like China to spread democracy. That was our vision of democratic capitalism in the 1990s. Bipartisan consensus, by the way, Republicans and Democrats alike. What they realized is, oh, wait a minute. We can use these vehicles as a way to actually spread our values back to them. They thought they could use our money to get them to be more like us. China says, okay, we're going to use access to our market to get America to be more like us. How did that work? What they basically said is you can't enter the Chinese market, be it a music company, a movie company, et cetera. A lot of entertainment fits this description. You can't enter, Disney fits this description. The NBA fits this description. You can't enter the Chinese market unless and until you abide by the CCP's way of doing things. But we will roll out the red carpet if you criticize the United States.
Yeah.
So this idea of self-loathing of large companies, institutions, entertainment institutions in particular, relentlessly criticizing the United States while actually staying silent about the actual human rights atrocities in places like China, that started in some ways as a form of a psyop, right, by China on the United States to say, we're going to get those institutions that you guys venerate over there, many of them are companies or entertainment providers, to relentlessly criticize the U.S. because the more you do that, while also staying quiet in criticism on China, the more they're going to roll out the red carpet for those companies and institutions to be able to expand into the Chinese market, which means more money.
Yeah.
So certainly there was a psyop component to this, but that trick only works if we have a culture that's still willing to buy up what they're selling, which goes back to that earlier absence of purpose and meaning and identity in our culture.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the fact that the Chinese government has a much better grasp on what is going to tug at the heartstrings and what will upset the sensibilities of the American people, as opposed to the American people's understanding of what is going to upset people in other nations.
Or in our own.
Or in our own. That's a very fair point.